The Keokuk County Sheriff's Office is taking applications for a full-time jailer dispatcher. The position requires a high school diploma or equivalent. Applications for employment can be picked up at the Keokuk County Sheriff's Office anytime, or go online at www.keokukcounty.iowa.gov and download an application form. The full-time position will include Keokuk County's benefit package. Starting wage is $23 per hour and could be higher depending on experience. Application deadline is Friday, August 30th at 4 p.m. or until filled. Keokuk County is an equal opportunity employer. Central Empire Wrestling presents Bridge City Slam 6 live Saturday, September 7th at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa. Come see Jake the Snake Roberts, Buff Bagwell, former WWE Tag Team Champions Demolition, Real One Enzo Amore, The Powers of Pain, The Boogeyman, Snitsky, Jordan Grace, Cameron Brennan, and the stars of CEW. Tickets start at just $20 and include the Fan Fest from 4 to 7 p.m. Get your tickets through Ticketmaster or at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa. It's Bridge City Slam 6, live Saturday, September 7th at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa. Watch Pekin Panther football live right here this fall on Steve Shuttler Media, Facebook, and YouTube with live announcers and an updated scoreboard, plus an area scoreboard to keep you updated on other schools of interest. It's Pekin Panther football live right here on Steve Shuttler Media starting Friday, August 30th.
Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Football season has officially started with college football games last weekend, but they really start in earnest tomorrow. Several games tomorrow, a few games Friday, lots of games Saturday, some games Sunday, or at least one game Sunday, and then at least one game Monday. And then we get back into Thursday football. NFL starts. So we are in the heart. We're ready to go. Hawkeyes and Cyclones start. However, we're going to start with non-football here, and we've talked about this last week and just in general. Trevor and I both really love Zach Bryan and getting to his concerts as much as we can, and you were able to get to Minnesota in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium to watch him Saturday night. Now, I had no idea this was all going on, but Minneapolis had to be crazy. I'm going to ask you about all three things, but so you had 70,000 people for Zach Bryan, roughly, or maybe a little less than that with the concert setup. You can answer that here in just a second. Then you had probably most of 20,000 people there because Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were in town against the Minnesota Lynx in a big-time basketball game because the Lynx are playing really well, one of the top teams in the league. Then obviously that's the closest WNBA team to most of Iowa. You could get, Dubuque area and stuff probably is a little closer to Chicago, but most of Iowa's closest team is Minneapolis to get there. And then also the Twins played. Just so there's another 20, 30, it holds 40,000. I'm going to guess it wasn't sold out, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at. So lots of stuff going on. US Bank Stadium is not super close to Target Center and Target Field, but Target Center and Target Field they're not attached, but there's literally like a walkway and a road between them. That's it. So they are very, very close. So I would really have almost liked to went and seen the difference. And we talked about this earlier this summer when I went up to Minnesota, how dead downtown was for when I was there and the Lynx were playing. And then, the Twins came into town the next day. I bet that place was an absolute zoo. Trev, talk about your weekend in Minneapolis.
It was very busy with all the things that you just mentioned, the three different events going on, all kind of at the same time. That was a little bit unfortunate. I wish the basketball game maybe could have been, during midday that we could have gone to. But at our hotel, I went down. We did a riverboat ride on Saturday. So I went down kind of in the morning a little bit to clear out my car and stuff. And there was Caitlin Clark t-shirts all over. People from, who knows where, red Clark t-shirts all over the place. So it was a madhouse. downtown was definitely busy. We weren't downtown very long, just, maybe 30 minutes before the concert and then a little bit afterwards, of course. We stayed in St. Louis Park area, which is about 3 miles west of downtown. And if you ever go back to Minneapolis, I'd recommend it. Get a hold of me. I could kind of tell you where to stay. But our hotel right across the street, there was an Irish pub. You literally walk 1 block and then go across a crosswalk. And you got an Irish pub. We thought we had really good food. A Yard House that is a smaller chain, really big sports bar, dozens and dozens of craft beer on tap. And then down next to it was that Punch Bowl Social that had the indoor bowling alley, pool tables, and all that. And they're all right through there by the hotel. So definitely it was a good area. They stay open late. And yeah, it was definitely busy. The traffic got backed up, to and from our boat ride that we did in the St. Paul area. But it was pretty cool to see all the Caitlin Clark t-shirts, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you were much closer to St. Paul area than you were like really Minneapolis.
We stayed west of downtown, so we were actually
so you went farther. You went farther away from US Bank Stadium, because US Bank Stadium in downtown is on the east side of downtown compared to the Target Center, Target Field. Target Center, Target Field are what I would call west side of downtown, even northwest side of what I would call downtown. Maybe not quite northwest, but definitely west side. Then US Bank is kind of southeast side of downtown.
Yeah, it was a good 15 probably minute Uber ride to get down to US Bank Stadium for the concert on Saturday. And then during the day, of course, when we did the riverboat tour in St. Paul, that was probably a good 30 to 35 minute car ride, just with the traffic backed up and everything. So yeah, St. Louis Park area, I would highly recommend it. It's safe, lots of good stuff there, and a bunch of hotels that are close within walking distance of anywhere you need to go, really.
Yeah. So, all right. So now, one thing that I have not done, you've done it a few times, is seen Zach Bryan in a big outside venue, big stadium, Denver, Mile High, a couple times now. And then how about being in a big stadium inside? I've seen him obviously in a very small venue, and then a couple, 15,000 outside venues, and then Wells Fargo and CHI Center in Omaha. So 18 to 20,000, but inside. So you've seen him, obviously not 70,000 people when he was playing at Mile High the first time for sure. Last time, probably about 70,000 people to watch him at Mile High, or not?
Yeah, I think they said 70 to 80,000. They fill up like 3/4 of the stadium. In the big stadiums like that, he has a bigger stage that they put toward the end zone. Same thing they did at the Viking Stadium. It's a big old screen, which I actually like. And I think it's almost better, just the way they play the songs and everything, maybe compared to outside or smaller arenas, I should say. So I kind of prefer the bigger arenas. Typically, I wouldn't say that, but no, the concert was great. We had a really good time. It ended up working out really well because I was supposed to sit away from our group just because we had one extra going than we expected. And the whole row behind Cody and Brett and those guys was completely open. So I just sat in that open row with everybody, which was
very
nice.
good. Yeah. So just a couple questions there. You guys saw some snap. You guys were a long ways away. And some of that's just inevitable with the big stadium like that, unless you're paying for front row or, down in front. It's just the reality of being in a stadium that big. How was the show being that far apart, but still inside? I mean, I think you kind of expect that when you get to a big outside stadium, but when you're in an inside place, you kind of think it's more, condensed and everything. But I've never been in that stadium. I was in the Metrodome a lot, but that's obviously what replaced the Metrodome. Just how was the concert with being that big inside and then being that far? Just how was the acoustics and how did the show look from where you were?
I thought it was perfectly fine. He has a big back screen. You can see everything is just easy. I mean, it's really good. The vocals are really good. Actually, Turnpike Troubadours played beforehand, and I've heard this from multiple people. Their vocals are not very good in concert, and I kind of have to agree. They were a little disappointing. If you didn't know the songs, you wouldn't even know what they were singing. So there was a big difference. But as far as sitting way up high and way back in those big stadiums, they have a big enough screen and the audio is good. You can see perfectly fine. It's not that big of a deal. And obviously sitting way up high and back like we did, it was cheaper tickets.
Right.
So I think it was worth it. I'm not a young person anymore where I want to go in, the front row or not that there's a mosh pit at Zach Bryan concerts, but I don't want to fight with the crowd all night just to stand there.
Yeah, it's fine being in the back, and just like at Hinterland where everybody's kind of together, but no problem not forcing myself up front anymore. 20 years ago maybe, but not anymore.
Yeah, same here. It worked out really well. We had a good time. It went too fast, like everything does when you're having fun. We didn't get until Friday afternoon or Friday night, and then next thing we know, it's Sunday having lunch and everybody's heading home. But the concert was really good. And then, one quick note on Caitlin Clark and the Fever. They ended up losing that game that night, but they had a big win tonight versus Connecticut. I don't know if you were watching it there.
Yep.
A big win for them. I saw the Chicago Sky just lost, which is a big loss for them. Now they're fighting for a playoff spot. I think they lost to Atlanta or Washington, whoever they're playing. But the Fever, man, they've really come out firing after this Olympic break.
And we've talked about this. Do you think it helped the Fever in battling this where they didn't have none of their players were on the Olympic team, correct?
Christy Wallace played for a different country, but none of them were on the American Olympic team.
So most of them got a rest. Most other teams that are fighting for playoff spots or one of the top teams, they had players playing, again, for the U.S. or other countries. And just like the Mercury, the first game back after the Fever, they had 3 people on our team. And whether you played every minute or half the time, doesn't matter. It just takes a toll traveling, the circus of just the Olympics in general. Just they didn't get the break, that mental and physical. And I think the mental part, I think for Caitlin Clark, I think it was just as much physical as it was anything else because of her college season going right in. But some of the others that didn't have the college season, I think a mental break was just as important as the physical break. And I've watched most of the games since the break. And, at the first 5 games of the season, we were ready to fire Christy Sides and hire anybody. It didn't matter. But I think she's got this team so much better, and I think she'll be back. And it'll be interesting to see where they end up and where they get to draft and who they can get. They need one more shooter, and we've talked about that. If they could get one more knockdown shooter, they're going to be tough.
They found it. She was on the bench. It's Lexi Hull.
Yeah, and she started the last 2 games. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
it's sort of similar to the Molly Davis injury. Not that there was an injury, but where obviously Sydney came off the bench and ended up being one of the best 5. This is their best 5 right now, where you've got Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Lexi Hull, and then Alyssa Smith with a couple others coming off the bench. But they found their starting 5. Lexi needs to play. She's really great defensively. She's shooting very hot from 3. It's not going to keep up at this percentage the rest of the season by any means. But yeah, I remember, after the first 10 games, I kind of told you on here, everybody wanted the coach fired. I said, just hold up. Let's give them a little time. They had no really time to practice. They had the toughest schedule, by far to start the season. And I still don't know if she's the right coach or not, but there was no need to fire after the first 10 games. They've really come on the last part of this season. So they are getting better. I think they found their right starting 5. Obviously, like you said, in the offseason, the draft, sure, they do need to add one more shooter. I don't know if Lexi is 100% a full-time starter long-term, but right now she is the 5th player that should be starting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We watched the game tonight. But yeah, and I think Caitlin Clark is I think she takes some time getting used to playing with. And we talked about it's her passing. She sees things and throws the ball to places that are perfect, but her teammates, it takes time. And I think now you see more balls caught and more layups made. There's still some that you just shake your head like, come on. But the more of them are made and more of them are caught. And you still, and Mitchell they interviewed her after the game today, and they're just talking about the relationship, and they're like, it's still only been 4 months. And I think that's what it was really underrated on how fast a turnaround it was to her being drafted first day of practice to the first game. And it didn't matter what type of player, it didn't matter anything, just they didn't know each other, just flat out didn't know each other. And now they know each other, and it just takes time. And it's so much better, and it's more fun to watch. And it was a struggle to start. And we're going to find out now. And we've talked about this, and I haven't looked at their schedule a lot, but as long as they keep playing, I think they need to play like Tuesday, Friday, or Monday, Thursdays, and stay away from the weekends the best they can from now on.
Yeah, the schedule's already set for this year, but
right.
We talked about
but going forward,
the things they can do to maybe get better ratings. Yeah, I think like a month ago, I kind of predicted they would finish around 18-22. I think now 20-20 is in play. I think they've got 9 games left. I see about 5 wins more on the schedule, hopefully, maybe more. But yeah, they're playing really well. They're going to be a problem in the playoffs. I'm not ready to pick them to make a major upset if they're still a 7 seed versus New York or Connecticut in a 5 or 7 game series. But if they could work themselves up somehow to a 5 seed, which would be tough, not impossible, 4 versus 5, maybe they could make some magic happen. But they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
And are they 5 game series, 7 game series, 3 game series? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I still haven't looked into it. I need to, but that's definitely one of those things about the WNBA. I'm not sure, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, because you go to a 7 game series right out of the chutes, and they're a 7 seed. Really a no chance for the Liberty or Connecticut. But you get into a 3 or 5 game, and you can steal one on the road, and then you win that first home game, and you're all of a sudden you're up 2-1. You can get there.
Yeah, 3 game series, especially if they were to somehow win on the road the very first game. And I don't know what the exact number is. We'll find out. I could easily look it up. I just haven't yet. But yeah, they're going to be, if they keep playing like this, they're going to be a really tough out come the playoffs.